Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Horror 421, the podcast, with your host, your friendly small-town horror author, Charles Campbell. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the frights in this week's episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Horror 421, the podcast. I'm your host, small town horror author Charles Campbell, and today I have a very special guest. I'm excited to have him with us today. I like to call him the man behind the man behind the man of the Terrifier franchise. I can't say it properly today, but welcome to the show, Phil Falcone.
How you doing, Charles? How's it going?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. I'm excited for the prospects of Terrifier 3 coming out in October. But before we get there, let's talk about the past a little bit. If you can give my listening audience a little background on yourself, how you came up in the film business, and then we'll kind of get into a back and forth on Terrifier specifically. But give us an overview of Phil Falcone and where you came from.
Sounds good, man. Born and raised in Brooklyn, big family, wanted to be an actor. That didn't work out. Um, held many jobs, finally landed on Wall Street, made did a couple of years in Wall Street. And after that, I had a little bit of an issue in 2007, got a little sick, ended up retiring. And around 2009, 2010, I started to come out of it and feeling better. And I was trying to write a story, and I was writing a war movie. I decided I was going to try and fulfill my passion. A friend of mine was talking to me about soldiers with PTSD. So the movie took a turn into the drama field. And we did a movie called Joe's War about PTSD. And on that set, I met Damien Leone, and he was talking about a movie that he wanted to do. And I told him, listen, if you teach me special effects, I'll do the movie with you. And that's how it began. So it started around 2013.
Wow, that's amazing. I am a fan of the Terrifier franchise. I started with All Hallows Eve, so I got my first glimpse of art in that film. But what you guys did with the first Terrifier, you kind of took it to another level, and with the second one, you kind of blew everything out of the water with that. So, congratulations to you. I appreciate what you and Damien have worked together to put out. It's an amazing franchise, and I'm excited to see where we go with it.
So am I.
So let's go get into Terrifier 1 a little bit. When you first started that with Damien, kind of tell me how that um, originated, and then how you blossomed into this special effects guy. I did watch behind the scenes of both films on the DVD, so I'll talk about that a little bit. But tell me how you started that project and how you branched out into this practical special effects genius that you two are when you put the two of you together.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Damien is the genius on that. I'm a pretty decent learner. I'm good with my hands. I build a lot of our sets. I build a lot of things. I'm very handy. When we started Terrifier, it was like the gods aligned everything for us. Just as we decided we were going to start, the first thing we thought of was, where are we going to build everything? And just at that time, someone moved out of my apartment in Staten Island. And I said, my wife goes, I got to rent the apartment. They're moving out. And I said, don't rent it so fast. So now we had our studio. So we built all our stuff. Took us like 3 or 4 months. We built all the effects and everything in the house in Staten Island. And then we filmed most of that in New Jersey and Trenton in a beat up building. So Damien brought me along slowly with the effects. He was teaching me things, and I was learning. Like I said, I was an assistant, just learning all the ropes, and started picking up some things and started doing things. By Terrifier 2, I was a little more seasoned, and that again, this time the gods slowed us down a little bit. I had a major heart surgery right before filming Terrifier 2, right before we started doing all the effects. And I still ended up building sets and doing the effects with them. It was just that I got operated on August 9th, and by September 1st or first week of September, I was building everything with Damien. So I was still stitched up and everything.
Oh
And we're
wow,
building
wow.
everything. We were going crazy. And then COVID came, which
Well,
slowed the
yeah,
process down a little bit, but it also gave us a chance to add some more stuff like the bedroom scene. We got to polish that off a little more. And by I'm going to say by the middle of the second, we were a well-oiled machine, I would say.
yeah. Well, when I spoke with David a couple years back on the podcast, it seemed like in a weird way, the pandemic was a little blessing in disguise because you guys were able to do like what you said, fine tune the film a little more and give us what we ultimately got. So I'm sure at the time you wanted to get it out, but the world came to a stop, and for the
Well,
better of your. Go ahead.
truthfully, we were segregated from the world when that happened, believe it or not.
So you were good to go. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were filming. We were in upstate New York, and when everything shut down, there was just a group of us together on my property in upstate New York, and we didn't really have to stop right away because we were not with the outside world. We were all together, and
Okay. So you're
and
kind
we
of
just
quarantined together already.
yeah,
Okay.
we were already
Gotcha.
quarantined, so it didn't hurt until we had to get out of that zone. Like we would be able to film certain things during that time, but then after a while, it was like, all right, now we got to bring in new people. So we had to shut down, and that's when we stopped and had to be a little more careful listening to the rules.
Oh, I got you. Well, let's dig into the craziness of the first Terrifier because I thoroughly enjoyed that film. It was a sleek throwback, just a slasher. Art the Art the Clown was born in a sense. He was already out there in All Hallows Eve, and I think the actor's name was Mike Gianelli. He did a great job portraying him in All Hallows Eve. So shout out to Mike. But when David came on to Terrifier, it just took on a different element, I guess I would say. But some of the things in that movie were pretty outstanding. The cutting the girl in half scene, it blew my mind when I first saw it. But I want to talk about the guy that was spraying the building. I think he was spraying for insects, and he got a pretty gruesome head stomp scene. And I kind of saw how that came to be in the behind the scenes, specifically around the special effects. What did you guys do to come up with that kind of crazy stuff? That was some insane stuff, and I love the practicality. Practical effects were genius. Love, I'll take that
Uh,
over CGI any day.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, like I said, Damien does these things and he'll test everything. So
Yeah,
we made the head and he was talking about stomping it, and I'll be honest with you, I was looking, I was like, how are you going to do this? And it worked out pretty well. So Damien loves his blood,
yeah,
and
yeah.
one of the things that I brought into the mix here is my friend owns an Italian deli. So I would tell him to save up all his scraps, and we would use real meat in most of our kills in Terrifier and
Nice.
Terrifier 2 have real meat and things in them. The intestines are sausage wraps with meat in them. And we fill them with blood, and so it's pretty authentic, to be honest. It's really cool, and like you said, we don't rely on CGI. It's very very little in Terrifier and Terrifier 2. I mean, it's minuscule. If there's 1% in either one of them, it's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you guys did an amazing job with that, and I love the leading lady, so to speak, in that film, Jenna Cannell. I think that's how you pronounce her last name.
Yes.
I thought she did an excellent job as Tara. I was rooting for her. I'm a Final Girl guy. I love Final Girls, but man, it broke my heart when Art stomped the hell out of that. So,
Yeah. Well,
yep,
Jenna,
yep,
Jenna was Jenna, Catherine, and Samantha. Yeah, you
yep.
can't get better. They were troopers through the whole thing, and they were the first. I mean, they were the originals, and I mean, they two of them met gruesome deaths, and it's pretty cool. They're good kids. They're doing well. I'm very happy for them. Catherine, my God, Catherine, that scene, she actually hung upside down, chained to that pole, and
Oh my God.
that was all her hanging there real. That was not I was not a stunt person, was not a dummy. The dummy came in later, but
Oh yeah, obviously,
yeah,
but yeah.
yeah. But I mean, that she was a trooper. Jenna did all her own stunts. She was running around like a maniac. She was cool as hell. Samantha, same thing. You got three girls that were killing it.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job. And Katie McGuire, I'd seen her in All Hallows Eve. She was the babysitter, and so it was cool to see her come back in that film. Of course, her fate wasn't that great either. But
They usually
so
aren't in these films.
no. But that's part of the entertainment. Let's talk about some of the challenges you guys had putting the first Terrifier together. What are some of the obstacles you faced, and some of the things you learned? You said you were a newbie then, and you were more seasoned in Terrifier 2. So, what were some of your big challenges and things that you had to overcome to get
Hold
that
on
film
one
out?
second. Son of a gun. Got a new phone. I don't know how to work it very well.
Oh, that's all right.
Um, so new challenges for Terrifier. I'm a I don't I like challenge. So
Oh yeah.
anything that comes at me, like when I did my first movie, I had no idea how to make a movie, and I just said I'm going to do it. So I directed it, produced it, co-wrote it, and I did it all. I built sets. So when it came to Terrifier, I was more gung ho because now I have somebody next to me that's actually going to teach me
Right.
how to do things. So it was really cool, and I sort of kind of take it as like a fish takes to water. It was easy for me. I not that the work was easy. It was just easy to want to learn and to absorb what he had to teach. Um, well, there obstacles. Yes, of course. There's always obstacles. As you're going, especially with a budget like that. I mean, I can't believe we pulled it off with that budget. Um, but that was a lot of hard work by a very very small crew. It was even smaller than the second film. I think we had like 6 people on Terrifier doing everything. George Stuber was the DP, and he's like so underrated. He did the lighting, he did the camera work, he did help build sets, he does everything. Damien's incredible. Yeah, there's nothing else you could say about Damien. He's there. So it was a good group of people. And then in Terrifier 2, when we hit stride, I had met these young kids, Fuzz on the Lens, who happens to be one of the exterminators that gets beheaded. Mike, Steve Della Sala, and Jason Levy. They were the cops at the end. I brought them in as actors on Terrifier. On
Nice.
Terrifier 2, we brought them in to do production with us. And again, you got 3 young kids that really wanted to learn and do good, and they were already making their own stuff. But this was like for them also a learning experience, and then bringing them into the fold, it made it like a family. So you had me, Damien, George, and these 3, and then you bring on like Olga Yarlig and Jackie Hughes, our makeup and our design. And we had, I think there were 9 people on Terrifier 2 building that all together. So that was pretty cool. Then I had a friend of mine that lives upstate, and he helped us out, Larry Lorenzo, and he helped me build a lot of stuff up there. Yeah, my friend Larry. So we got some help here and there, but for the most part, it was like 9 people, maybe 11 tops, and to get out of it what we got out of it, again, to me was insane because we did a lot for very little.
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, like I said, the Terrifier, the first Terrifier, I caught it on Netflix and thought it was great, and really didn't think much of it after that, to be blunt. But then, the pandemic hit, and then there were rumblings about Terrifier 2, and then I saw a trailer, and I was like, "Oh my god, what are they doing with this?" Damien, David expanded the mythos so much, and I know it's all in Damien's head. It's his story, but what did you think when you first saw the script for Terrifier 2 versus Terrifier 1? I can imagine what you may have thought, but I want to hear it from you. What did you think when you saw that?
I don't know if you could imagine what I thought, because when he did Terrifier, I said, you might as well have Black Leader, and it just says, go get popcorn, go to the bathroom, do what you got to do, come back. Art's coming back to kill somebody in 2 minutes. Terrifier 2, and when it was received that well, I was like, wow, I'm more about story. I like
Yeah.
having story, and I kept telling him, we need more story, we need more story, and he goes, yeah, it'll come. And when I read the script for Terrifier 2, I said, Damien, I love it. I said, here's the thing I'm worried about. I didn't love the fact that there was no story for Terrifier and it did so well. Now you got a story for Terrifier 2. I'm wondering if people are going to hate it. So I was a little nervous about that. But I always like more story. So
Oh yeah,
I actually liked it. I knew the first con I went to, and it was right before we went on Netflix. We went to a con in Arizona, and people were walking around like with drawings of art on their shirts and everything. And I'm like, yeah, right. Yeah, but this is before, even
yeah,
before
yeah,
Mirth.
right,
And it was people just throwing shit on. And I was like, holy crap. And I looked around and I'm not big into the horror. I'm more classic horror,
right.
Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, the black and whites. And I looked around and I said, how old is Freddy Krueger? And he told me, and I said, what about Jason and Mike Myers? And he was telling me, and I said, holy shit. I said, this could be big. I said, we got to go bigger for two. We got to go
Yeah,
bigger. He goes, good, let's do it. So that's what we did. And then when it hit Netflix, I said, holy shit,
yeah,
we got to go even bigger than that. Let's go for it. And thankfully me and Damien get along great. I mean, he's like his family. It's not even like he's family.
right, right,
Same
right.
with George. George saved my life twice. So I mean, he's family, as family as you could get. So that was the nucleus of the team. And now we brought in the Fuzz on the Lens boys, who just have a movie coming out now called Stream. It's actually releases October 11th.
Okay,
So not October 11th. I'm sorry, August 21st. October 11th
okay.
is us.
Oh
I'm
yeah, yeah,
messing
that's
this
right.
up. Yeah,
That
August 21st in theaters. Stream is coming out. The Fuzz on the Lens boys, our production crew. Damien did most of the special effects on that. I did a couple of special effects on it, but they got a good young group of people, and it's a pretty cool movie.
Well, we'll definitely be on the lookout for that for sure. I love to watch all types of horror. I'm a small town horror author. I love to watch indie horror. I love to watch low budget horror. I love to watch high budget horror. I watch all kinds of horror. So I'll be on the lookout for that for sure. Now, you were talking earlier. We had in Terrifier, you had a small cast. You could, almost put them on one hand. Terrifier 2 expanded that a little bit. And so I want to talk about the cast a little bit and how, you guys worked together and interacted. Um, One of the people that I really liked the dynamic of, because she reminded me a little bit of a. Now I'm from the deep south, and our mothers are very direct. And we had a mother in Terrifier 2 that was very direct. Her name's Sarah Voigt, but she played the mom. Talk to me
Um,
about her, how you guys found her, and I love the dynamic between her and the kids. I want to give her a little love on this podcast.
oh God, yeah, she deserves it. She's awesome. She's awesome. I'll tell you, yeah, it's you'd be hard pressed to find anything that went the wrong way with the cast and the crew. I mean, it's such a dynamic, and it's not like you just grab somebody and bring them on. First of all,
Right,
Damien has an idea of who he's looking for, a look that he's looking for, a personality that he's looking for, and I think our crew has a real cohesiveness and tightness, and we're family.
yeah,
It's like a family. So I think that breeds it. When people come into the fold and they see how we are with one another, it relaxes them. It's not just a regular job anymore. So they become part of that family for whatever time we're here. And I think that shows in the cast and the crew. And she was amazing. I could tell you, she was a pisser. She's fun. She's a great actress. We had a ball with her,
oh
and she's
yeah.
a dynamite actress, and she played that part to the nines.
Loved it, loved it, and you guys nailed it as far as I'm concerned on the entire cast for this movie. Lauren Lavera as Sienna. I was blown away when I first saw her. The emotion she emitted, the way she could, um, transcend some scenes, if that makes sense. She was the driver of the movie. As much as it's an Art the Clown movie, she drove that film, and I can't say enough good things about Lauren. Um, how did you guys find her, and how did you match her with Elliot?
Again, Damien does the casting.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
go. We'll look at everybody and we'll talk. We'll discuss amongst each other. One of the things about Lauren was Lauren got into character and she wanted it. I mean, she has so many questions of Damien, and Damien knows the backstory of all his characters. He also knows what's coming. So when she would, you could see that she was taking this on, and she would ask every question. What are my emotions? What is this? What is that? And she went through everything, and you knew that it was going to be awesome. And when she first came down to get to get suited up and everything, so to speak,
Right. Suited and
we did
booted.
a lot of discussions. Yeah, we did a lot. We had a lot of discussions. She's going to be a real major talent to contend with. She's got it. I mean, you could
Yeah. Oh,
tell when
yeah, yeah,
somebody's
yeah,
on
yeah.
the screen.
Yeah, outside of Terrifier 2, I hadn't really seen her in anything, but she looked
It'll
like she'd
happen.
been yeah, well, it looked like she'd been doing it for a super long time. Her confidence as far as the screen, was there, and her emotion, everything was there. Well, I can't say enough about the cast. I mean, one of the friends, that we had the unfortunate bedroom scene, which I definitely want to talk about in a little more detail. When I had David on, we obviously couldn't talk about it. I had no idea what it was. All the code word was bedroom scene. You're going to be shocked, and of course, we were shocked. Uh, but anyway, I thought the casting was great. I loved the Kaylee Hyman as Brooke. I thought she was snarky and funny, and I thought she was a great comic relief, if that makes sense.
Oh
We do
yeah,
have a little comedy in the movie, but I thought she was an excellent pick to
yeah.
play Brooke.
Kaylee, you could take any one of Kaylee's takes and use it in the film. I don't think she missed a beat on any take. If she did 10 takes, there were 10 great takes. She was that good. Casey went through hell. Uh, that bedroom scene went through hell. Even in my house, it went through hell. We
Let's talk about that. I want you to tell me everything you know about that scene. How you guys put it together. I loved it.
Oh God, Damien had this whole plan for this scene, and that's one of the things that COVID actually helped, because we went back to the drawing board. We weren't loving the way it came out. Well, he wasn't. I was the producer, and I was going, Jesus Christ, we got to finish this film already. But he goes, I want to do this. I want to do this. So we were down in my basement. We built everything in my basement this time for Terrifier 2. So we were down there, and he goes, I want, when he cuts, I want to show bone there. And I said, well, why don't we just mold the bones inside the silicone and everything? He goes, yeah, we could do that. Then when we did that, he goes, I want her to open her mouth. I said, I don't know how to do that. He goes, you don't think you could do it? I said, I'll try. And I walked around my basement looking. I found fishing wire, and I hooked it up. I jerry rigged it, and I pulled it. And all of a sudden, you got the mouth open, and he's pulling like 40 times. I said, Damien, stop. It's going to break. Might as well break now. But then we get to the set, and he goes, I'd like the body to move on the bed. I said, well, we got to get rid of the bed then. We got to have a fake bed. He goes, you think you could do it? I said, shit, that's easy. I could do that. So I built a bed. We redressed it, had to drill holes. Steve Delasala, one of the kids from Fuzz on the Lens, he's under the bed moving the arms and legs. I didn't want to get under there. That was all blood. I was behind the wall. I'm pulling the wire to make the mouth open and close and tilting her head up. And Damien's doing the calls. And, it was just a whole group thing that made it happen. It was the first time I did anything like that, and I loved it. It was friggin' amazing.
Yeah, it was a great scene, and I love the mom.
Yeah.
Mom. Oh shit! Really?
I think the
Oh
only thing
man.
CGI in there is the one eyeball.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's the
Yeah.
only CGI.
Well, that was effective. That was effective CGI. So
Yeah.
that was a great scene. Um, and I'm a little sporadic in this order, but the special effects were so good. I want to talk about the kill at the Halloween store with Jonathan Davis.
I'm so
Um,
glad you brought that up.
well, I want to talk about it. Tell me
Good.
what went into that. Jonathan, he seems like he's a great actor. He didn't have a very big role, but it was a dynamic role, and it was an impactful role for the movie. So let's talk about Jonathan in that scene.
First of all, Jonathan and I hit it off real quick. He's a dynamite guy. Um, that scene, believe it or not, it's one of the kills that I still get like the heebie-jeebies. I still do that when I see it. When the axe hits the head, it's cool, but when it hits his neck,
Yeah.
not the axe, the cleaver. When that cleaver hits the neck, I get so like, because first of all, when we first did it, we hit it and the neck just collapsed, and I was like, "Oh, that ain't good." And Damien goes, "That looks like shit." So he goes, "What are we gonna do?" I said, and this is what I'm saying. I'm pretty good with my hands. I said, what if I router out the inside, leave some pieces that it looks like the real neck is still there. So when we cut it with the cleaver, it didn't collapse, but we had so much stuff in there that came out and was like, wow, that came out nice. That looked good. That really worked. We were so happy. Meanwhile, I'm going to throw a shout out to my dad. The cleaver was my father. A lot of the weapons that Art uses in these movies are my father's weapons. They're not weapons. They're tools that he used when I was growing up. My father passed in 2001, and I have all his tools. So he looks for old things. I go, I got this, I got that.
So that's what Art's carrying around those garbage bags.
That's right. He's
Nice.
carrying around my father's tools.
Well, let's go back to Art for a minute. We
Go ahead.
didn't. I didn't touch on you with David about David very much. Like I said, I gave a shout out to the original Terrifier, but what did you think when you first saw David? I thought he did a fantastic job, phenomenal job. Great portrayal of Art the Clown. Hope he stays in the makeup as long as you make these movies. But what was your first impression when you first met David?
Oh God, he David out of makeup is a goofball. He's fun. He's jovial. He's always clowning around. He's not serious. He's always taking it easy. He laughs a lot. He's I mean, I look at it, he's like Jerry Lewis,
Oh yeah,
when you see him in the
I
movies.
can
Maybe
see
not
that.
Jerry
Yeah,
Lewis in real
yeah,
life,
yeah, yeah.
but things like that. So when we were, I mean, this story's been out there for a while now. When we were casting for Art the Clown, Damien wanted a tall, skinny guy, no talking. So I said, why don't we go for a mime? And so that's what we put out there. But David wasn't a mime, but he did know a little bit about mime. And when he came in, he told us later he was nervous because he didn't have a script, and everybody else had a script that was there. And so when he came in, he's like, "What do I do?" And Damien told him what he wanted, and Dave just went off and did his things. And me and Damien were cracking up, and he looked at me and goes, "I think we got him." I said, "Yeah, I know." It was like boom. He was sent to us on a platter, so it worked out real well. Dave's fun to be around.
Well, he sure is. And for my listening audience, they heard Dave a couple years ago, and normally I like to keep these podcasts to an hour or less, because the audience gets bored when they're listening for an extended period of time. But David talked to us for 2 hours, Phil. And it wasn't us prompting. He just kept talking and talking. So we're going to say we're going to listen and listen and listen. Now, he had all kinds of cool stories. He portrays the Joker too, which was cool to
Yeah,
learn at the time.
you got
But
it. It's tough to shut him up. Trust me.
but he was amazing. And if you go back and look at our podcast episode with David, this was in 2022. And you'll have to listen to podcast to get what the title means. But it was called "Talking Farts with Art." So he had fart stories in the in the
No,
podcast.
listen, I think I've heard every story that he has to tell. Trust me, we're together, what, like 8 years now. So,
Uh, well,
yeah.
he seems like he would be fun to work with on a day to day basis.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
good. He's good. And it's good that we have him as a mime because, God, we would never be able to film it.
oh, geez. Well, like I said, I watched behind the scenes stuff in the first Terrifier, so I'm gonna hold up a couple of these films. Here's the DVD for Terrifier. Most of the people that are interested in horror have seen this film, and we've talked a lot about Terrifier 2, and we openly talked about it. And if you haven't seen it by now, then shame on you. I don't care. We have spoilers for Terrifier 2. We've blown the whole movie, but that's all right. But you can pick up Terrifier 2 as well on Blu-ray, DVD, all kinds of stuff, and I don't know how much you're involved with the soundtrack, Phil, but Paul Wiley did a great job with the soundtrack of this film. If you had any involvement in finding this guy, or if you have a story about Paul, I'm more than happy to share it
I,
with the
be-
audience. But I thought
I
he did a great
believe
job.
I believe Paul Wiley worked with Damien on Frankenstein versus the Mummy. I
Oh,
think
okay.
that's where they hooked up. I met Paul Wiley after we were doing Terrify 1. I don't I don't do much of music. To me, it's Elvis Presley, Dean Martin, a couple of '60s groups, and that's it. Um, Damien likes certain styles to go in his music, so I don't even like. I'll listen, but if it's music, I try and stay away from that. I'll always give my opinion about things, but music I stay away from because I it's just not my forte.
Well, I thought he did a great job with the soundtrack. It was very
Oh,
good. It was
Wiley's awesome.
effective. Oh yeah, he's amazing. Now we're going to talk about music too because it ties in with you, and I know you're heavily involved in these scenes. There's a shit ton of scenes in Terrifier 2. That's why it was what was it, 2 hours and 20 some odd minutes. But it flew right by, man. All the scenes were great. Let's talk about the Clown Cafe. And is it Leah Voice? Is that how you say her
Yeah,
name? Is
Leah
it Voice?
Boyce.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, Leo Boise. Let's talk about the Clown Cafe and how you guys put that crazy shit together. That was that was amazing. I loved every aspect of it. But like I said, I ramble a little bit, so I'm gonna be quiet and let you talk. But let's talk about Clown Cafe.
All right, the Clown Cafe. We were we were again down in my basement and building prosthetics and trying to catch up to what we were now falling behind. And as a producer, I don't want to push back. So Damien goes, "We're going to have to push this shoot back." I said, "No, we're not." He goes, "Phil, we're shooting in 4 days. We don't even have the set built." So I looked at him and I said, "You got this?" He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "You finish this by yourself. I'm going upstate. I'm going to grab George and Steve and go up there and build the Clown Cafe." He goes, "You're never going to." I said, "You just come up there. Don't cancel nothing." We went up there, and 3 days later, he came up. He walks in. He goes, "Get the fuck out of here. You built it in 3 fucking days." Yeah, I have my friend Larry Bolello, this kid Rob, Steve, George, me, and Jason helped a little bit. But yeah, that was big. 3 days we built that whole set.
Wow, I mean that was, yeah, that is big because I remember that set, and I've seen this movie multiple times, and that set sticks out to me probably outside the bedroom scene, sticks out to me more than anything else that I can kind of just replay over. And the song was catchy. I
Well,
had
I'll
that
give you a
damn
little
song.
tidbit on the Clown Cafe. I don't
Okay.
usually say this. You know the guy that's on fire running around the thing? That's not
Yeah.
me. That's not me. But on the floor, there's somebody burning. That's
Is that
me.
you? Oh,
Yeah. I, I
nice.
I said, when am I ever going to get a chance to do this again? So I told the guy, I said, "I'm going on fire." He goes, "No, you're not. You just had an operation." I said, "I'm going on fire, or nobody's going on fire." And he put me on fire. So that was cool. I got to do
Well,
that.
how did that feel? Did you get burnt?
No, no, not at all. He was very
Uh,
careful with everything. It worked out great. But in that scene, I'm milling around all over that scene. So it was fun. It was
oh,
fun.
that's cool because you actually brought me back to another question I want to ask you about Terrifier. We kind of moved off of that onto Terrifier 2, but I'm gonna go back to this real quick. How was it subbing for Dave in the as a body double? I saw that in behind the scenes. I was like, look at this. This is pretty cool. Tell me about that. That was
Oh
amazing.
God! I actually did my first stunt in Terrifier. I drove the truck through the door.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I had to get. And if anybody's ever seen me and Dave stand next to one another, there's no confusing us. Tall and skinny, short and fat. So
Yep.
it's wild. Yeah, I loved it, man. I love everything I could do. It's just like I'm getting to do what I wanted to do when I was 13 years old. You know, I'm playing in the field that I always wanted to be in. So it's a blast. It's just a blast. I can't even tell you. I'm having so much fun.
Man, I am happy for you too. I mean, it looks like it's fun, and I'm glad it caught fire the way it did. That gives you the means to do more. And before I segue into Terrifier 3 and everything you can't talk about, um, I want to talk about Felissa Rose as well. She had a small part in Terrifier 2, but she had a pretty meaningful part. She was one of the teachers at the school. And tell me how you guys got her onto the set and to do her role. I'm a fan of Felissa Rose. I think she's amazing. But
She is when she walks in a room, you know it.
oh yeah,
And if
yeah,
you
I've
walk
seen her
in
at
the room,
conventions. Yeah.
yeah. And if you walk in the room, you know she's there.
Oh yeah,
She's
force of
loud.
nature. Force of
Yeah.
nature.
Oh yeah. Well, Damien met her on the cons,
Yeah.
so that's how that happened. But even that scene, you know, I like to break chops. So you know the little kids that are in there doing it.
Oh yeah.
They're adult. They're a lot older now, but when they did the scene, they were little young kids, and they're like. And I went over to them and I said, "Listen," because she runs over and goes, "What's going on here?" I said, when she comes over, tell her, leave me alone, you bitch, or get the fuck out of here. And she comes in and she goes, what's going on? He goes, oh, leave me alone, you bitch. And she, oh, he didn't want to do it. He was begging me, please. No, I said, just do it. She'll laugh. She'll have fun with it. She loved it. Every time I see her now, I go, what's going on? She cracks up. We crack up because of that.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. I love Felissa. And I am a big wrestling fan. It's no secret to the people that know me. I've loved wrestling since I was growing up, and I had my jaw drop a little bit when I saw Chris Jericho at the end of the film, and I'm seeing that he's in the cast for Terrifier 3, so I'm excited about that. But how was it work? And I saw some of the behind the scenes on him too, talking about eating those jelly brains and stuff. It was kind of getting
I
old
made
after a little
those.
while. Oh, you did?
I made the eyeballs that he had to keep eating, and I kept telling Damien, let him eat some more.
Well, how was it working with Chris? He's always had a big
He's
personality in wrestling in his band Fozzy, but I
yeah,
digress.
I'm not a big wrestling fan, but I do know of him. Again, music, I'm not going to
Yeah,
be following him, you know that. But great guy, fun to be with. Matter of fact, I have a story just about everybody. But Chris, when we first shot the scene, which we reshot, there's a scene where he grabs a doorknob, and I had made the door with the slide on it, and it was really flimsy. It was one of these hollow doors. I got cheap on it, and I had this crappy door, and I told him, I said, be gentle with the doorknob because he's a big boy.
yeah, yeah.
I said, be gentle with the doorknob. He goes, what do you mean? I said, it's on with spit and tape and spit. I said, that thing is going to fall off in a heartbeat. Soon as he goes and grabs it, a little too hard, pulls the doorknob off. Me, like a schmuck, I yell at him, what the fuck did I just tell you? And he looks at me like, what the fuck are you talking to? So,
Nice.
yes, but I was like, I don't give a shit. I said, I'll get it back on.
That's all right. You got heel Jericho there in the wrestling business. You're either a heel or a baby face, and he's been both. So you got heel Jericho. That's nice.
He's a cool dude, I tell you. I'm telling you, we've been blessed. I swear to God, we've been blessed.
Well, I think it's been amazing speaking to you. Before I let you go, though, I do want to touch on Terrifier 3. I know there's a ton you can't talk about, but tell us what you can talk about. What can we expect this October when Terrifier 3 hits theaters?
Well, it's Christmas based. Um, it's going to be wild. It's a wild ride. Um, there's so many new characters that are so vibrant and strong. A lot of good cast members. Um, I could tell you again, it felt like too where the people wanted to be there and we wanted them there. So that's a recipe for success. When everybody wants to be there, they're not there for a paycheck. They're there to work. They're there to have fun. They're there to be part of something that might become bigger. And
Right.
I think it'll come across the screen. A lot of new young talent. Um, we went much bigger production, much nicer equipment to work with. So the look is going to be stronger. The production value will be much stronger. We hired on, which disappoints me, by the way, we hired on a major effects team, staying practical, but a major effects team, Christian Tinsley. Heather and Ryan did a bang up job on the set. And we had Olga Yarlig back, Jackie Hughes back. We built bigger. We had I'm going to say maybe 40 crew members this time. We're on two. We had 9 to 11 at best.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, the expenses were bigger, the headaches were bigger, but the production value is much bigger. So, I think everybody's going to enjoy it. I think there's action all throughout. It's been mentioned that the first few minutes of a movie is like wild.
Oh,
I could
okay.
tell you, you know, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying what I see. I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed. I hope not. But again, it's all up to the fans.
Amazing. Well, the more success you have, the bigger it's going to get, and the more budget you're going to have. It all falls in line. But it was amazing to me how, basically, an independent horror film graduated to theaters and made a ton of money at the theater. So there was a demand, and I'm like I said, I'm a big indie horror fan, indie horror supporter. I go to some of the conventions as a small town horror author, which I'll talk about on our closing. But and I love talking to indie horror people and people who are in those businesses and do that work, because it's like you said, it's a family environment. You guys are working so closely together, and a lot of the indie horror folks I talk with are on less than shoestring budgets, so they're paying people with meals and perks, and they don't have a lot of cash to dole out, but they get the job done, they get the movies made. So shouts out to all of you guys and what you've done and what you continue to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
But
Yeah, anybody that puts a movie together, God bless them, because it's not an easy task.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, I've never put a movie together. Everything is in my head. I write books, so it's a little easier for me. But I would, I would love to be a part of a cast one day. I just don't have the talent for it. I'm not I'm
Well, you and
self-aware.
me both. You and me both. Damien keeps cutting me.
But I'm super self-aware. Uh, But thank you for joining us for today's episode of Horror 421, the podcast. Hopefully, I can have you back after Terrifier 3 comes out, and we can talk about the things we couldn't talk about today, if you're up
Awesome.
for it.
I'm always up for it. I enjoy it. Listen, without people like you, we're not there. So I thank you. I appreciate it. This is an honor for me to be here. So thank you all, and be there October 11th.
Oh,
It's going to be crazy.
well, thank you so much, Phil. It was a great conversation. All right, is there anything before I start plugging my shit? Is there anything that you want to talk about? Get out there, tell people where they can find you. Maybe talk about the release date of Terrifier 3. Anything you want to plug, promote? Have at
Well,
it.
well, if you're looking for me, I'm on Facebook as Philip Falcone. If it's Instagram, it's PJ Falcone. Um, October 11th, Terrifier 3 gets released in around 2,500 theaters, I believe. Um, and hopefully my next project comes shortly thereafter. It's called Blood Scent. I'm working on getting a budget for it. And if that happens, it's pretty cool story, pretty cool things. It's about, it's a little mythological, so it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'll put links below where they can find your Instagram and Facebook pages. I'll have to reach out to you on Facebook, shoot you a friend request. But thank you again for being on the show. I am Charles Campbell, your small town horror author, and I have re released Mrs. Field's Journal. This is the book that started it all. This is a pocketbook re release. This was released 10 years ago, but I've released a small paperback with bonus content on how this book came to be. It is my best selling, most reviewed, and most popular book to date, and it came out in 2014. My latest release is called Signature Cut Above. It's available now at valleyboypublications.com. You can order your signed copy there, and you can find me on Instagram under Charles Campbell Author. You can find all the links at valleyboypublications.com, so I'll just keep it simple and leave it at that. Everything is there that you can click. Anyway, one other thing I wanted to mention before we leave, Phil. We have a great fan base out there. Or Terrifier Art has a great fan base out there. It's Art the Clown Appreciation Society on Facebook. So, what do you want to tell us about that Facebook group? That thing is huge.
Oh God, they've been fans from the beginning. Atkiss is amazing. There's amazing people running it. They talk to us constantly. They keep us involved. And again, these people are insanely great with us. They're huge horror fans, and a couple of them have been in the film. So it's pretty cool. Thank you all at Art the Clown Appreciation Society. Thank you all.
Yeah, you guys are great. I love talking to them at the conventions. Thank you guys for joining this week's episode of Horror 421, the podcast. And I'm going to let Phil say the final goodbye.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for having me. Enjoy. Have a great rest of the summer.
We hope you had a horrific time, lovelies. Thank you for tuning in to Horror 421, the podcast. Be sure to like us on YouTube and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.